Did you know that traditional Irish bread was historically cooked on a griddle as flatbread? This is because the domestic flours available in Ireland didn't have the properties needed to rise effectively when combined with yeast. So what was the solution? Enter baking soda. This common kitchen ingredient offered a simple yet effective alternative to yeast, leading to the creation of Irish soda bread. But the story doesn't end there. The popularity of Irish soda bread took a hit when imported high-gluten flours became available. These flours, with their superior rising properties, made baking soda seem less appealing. Yet, like any good underdog, soda bread made a comeback. In the 1960s, brown soda bread, often served with smoked salmon, began to reappear on luxury hotel menus, marking the resurgence of this humble bread. Today, you'll find an array of modern variations of Irish soda bread at cafes and bakeries across Ireland. Some are made with ingredients like Guinness, treacle, walnuts and herbs, adding a contemporary twist to the traditional recipe. However, the sweetened version with caraway and raisins, once a common sight, is rarely seen anymore. Speaking of raisins, did you know that soda bread made with raisins has a playful colloquial name? It's called spotted dog or spotted dick. The secret to a good soda bread lies in the flour. In Ireland, the flour is typically made from soft wheat. So for the best results, use a cake or pastry flour, which has lower levels of gluten than bread flour. Some recipes even replace the traditional buttermilk with live yogurt or stout. And remember, the leavening action starts immediately, so minimum mixing of the ingredients is recommended. The dough should not be kneaded. Now that we've gone through the history, let's dive into how to actually make this delicious bread. To make the perfect Irish soda bread, you will need the following ingredients. Begin with 1 3/4 cups of buttermilk. If you prefer, you can use an egg, but this is optional. For the dry ingredients, you'll need 4 1/4 cups of all-purpose flour, 3 tablespoons of granulated sugar, a teaspoon each of baking soda and salt, and 5 tablespoons of unsalted butter that's cold and cubed. For those with a sweet tooth, you can add a cup of raisins to the mix. This is also optional. You see, the beauty of Irish soda bread is in its simplicity. The basic ingredients come together to create a loaf that's both hearty and comforting. It's a recipe that stood the test of time, from the kitchens of Ireland to the tables of food lovers worldwide. Now that we have our ingredients ready, it's time to start baking. Before we start mixing our ingredients first, we need to preheat the oven. Let's set it to a toasty 400 degrees Fahrenheit, or 204 degrees Celsius if you prefer. While our oven is getting up to temperature, let's talk about our baking pan options. You could opt for a regular baking sheet lined with parchment paper or a silicone baking mat, but keep in mind that our bread will spread a bit more on a baking sheet. Alternatively, you could use a seasoned 10 to 12-inch cast iron skillet. No need to preheat the skillet though. A greased 9 to 10-inch cake pan or pie dish will also do the job. Or if you're feeling adventurous, why not use a 5-quart or higher Dutch oven? Just remember to grease it or line it with parchment paper and bake the bread with the lid off. With our oven preheating, we can now move on to mixing our ingredients. Now, it's time to create the dough for our Irish soda bread. Let's start by whisking our buttermilk and egg together until they are well combined. This duo will add a beautiful richness and tenderness to our bread. Once that's smoothly mixed, set it aside for a moment. Next, let's turn our attention to the dry ingredients. In a large bowl, whisk together the all-purpose flour, granulated sugar, baking soda, and salt. These are the building blocks of our bread, providing structure, sweetness, and that all-important rise from the baking soda. Now we're going to cut in the butter. You can use a pastry cutter, a fork, or even your fingers for this task. As you work, aim to reduce the butter into pea-sized crumbs. You'll find the mixture is heavy on the flour, but persist until the butter is well distributed. This process will ensure our bread has a lovely, crumbly texture. With our butter incorporated, it's time to introduce a burst of sweetness by stirring in the raisins. These little gems will become wonderfully juicy as the bread bakes, providing delightful pockets of flavor in every slice. Finally, pour in the buttermilk and egg mixture we prepared earlier. Gently fold the dough together until it becomes too stiff to stir. If the dough seems a tad crumbly, don't worry. Simply pour it onto a lightly floured work surface and using floured hands, work it into a ball as best you can. Then, knead it for about 30 seconds or until all the flour is moistened. If the dough is too sticky, feel free to add a little more flour. And there you have it. We've created a beautiful dough for our traditional Irish soda bread. With our dough ready, we're now prepared to bake. The aroma that will soon fill your kitchen is truly something to look forward to. So let's get baking. It's finally time to put our dough into the oven. First, we handle the dough with care as we transfer it to our prepared skillet or pan. Feel the weight of history in your palms. This simple bread has been a staple of Irish tables for centuries, and now it's coming to life in your kitchen. Next, we take a very sharp knife or a bread lame and score the dough. This isn't just for aesthetics. Scoring or making a shallow cut about ½ inch deep helps the bread to expand during baking. A slash or an X, it's your choice, but the tradition calls for a cross, to ward off evil and protect the household. Now we're ready for the magic to happen. We slide our scored dough into the preheated oven and let it bake. The sweet, earthy aroma will soon fill your kitchen, a scent that's sure to bring back memories of home, even if you've never set foot in Ireland. But baking isn't just about waiting. It's about anticipating. Keep an eye on the bread as it bakes. Watch as it turns from a pale dough into a golden brown loaf. If it browns too quickly, don't hesitate to loosely tent it with aluminum foil. This will prevent the top from burning while the inside continues to bake. And how do you know when it's done? The bread should be golden brown, and the center should appear cooked through. This usually takes between 45 and 55 minutes. For a more precise measure, use an instant read thermometer. If it reads 195 degrees Fahrenheit at the center of the loaf, your bread is ready. After about 55 minutes, our bread should be ready to come out of the oven. And there it is, your very own loaf of traditional Irish soda bread, warm, hearty, and fragrant. But don't be in a rush to slice it just yet. Good things, as they say, come to those who wait. Our Irish soda bread is now baked and ready, but before we can enjoy it, we need to let it cool. Cooling is an essential step in the baking process. It allows the bread to set and the flavors to meld together. So let's get to it. After removing the bread from the oven, let it rest for about 10 minutes. This initial cooling period makes the bread easier to handle. Next, we'll transfer it to a wire rack. The rack allows air to circulate around the bread, cooling it evenly and preventing it from becoming soggy. Now let's talk about storage. If you have any leftover bread, you can keep it at room temperature for up to 2 days. Just make sure to wrap it tightly in aluminum foil. If you want to extend its life, pop it in the refrigerator where it can last for up to a week. Now that our bread has cooled, it's time to enjoy this delicious piece of Irish history. There you have it, a delicious loaf of traditional Irish soda bread, perfect for any meal. This humble bread, with its golden brown crust and tender, slightly sweet interior, is a testament to the simplicity and ingenuity of Irish baking. The texture is dense yet soft, a delightful contrast that makes every bite a pleasure. The taste is subtly sweet, with the distinctive tang of buttermilk playing off the richness of the butter. You can serve this bread warm, straight from the oven, or let it cool to room temperature. It's perfect with a pat of butter melting into its warm crumb, or slathered with marmalade or honey for a sweet treat. Some even enjoy it with smoked salmon, a nod to its historical roots. This bread is more than just a dish. It's a taste of tradition, a piece of history baked into every morsel. Enjoy your homemade Irish soda bread, and remember, every bite takes you back to the heart of Ireland.